as well. That was actually my first Spanish event for the Spanish community, and it was on fix and flipping. So I was very excited of I didn't know the room was going to get filled to that extent.
It was. Right?
Yes, I am Dominican. I was actually born in the Dominican Republic, and I got here when I was 8 years old.
So do you think that your success is also due to New York City energy?
I want to say a combination of the New York City energy and also the Dominican. I got into real estate, believe it or not, because my mom had started owning a house. So I got excited. She got into a home. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. So I started doing real estate. I was an administrator at a company, and I was also a Sunday school teacher. So I'm doing all three things at the same time. So this is like a $50,000 income that I was getting that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the risk. And I did. And it was the best decision I ever made, taking that risk, listening to God, listening to my gut.
Rosa, thank you so much for being here. It's the first time we meet in person, actually. I saw you last year in July 2024. You were presenting one of your events. And I have to tell you, I knew we were going to get together at some point. Reason being, I felt a strong admiration for you. When you were on stage, you have such a great energy. And while you were talking, I took the time to look at the room, and I realized that this feeling was shared amongst all of us. Like, this is really what comes out of you. It's a passion for work, passion for community, and it's truly inspiring. So thank you for being here.
Well, Sarah, thank you for allowing me to be here in this space. And I'm so honored to be here and for you to also share, the experience that you experienced with me. And it was online. It was not even in person. So that makes me feel very, very happy and very grateful as well. That was actually my first Spanish event for the Spanish community. And it was on fix and flipping. So I was very excited of I didn't know the room was going to get filled to that extent.
It was.
And I had no idea. I just started promoting on Instagram and also communicating with past clients that I've worked with and past professionals and people that I met in networking events. And my whole idea of doing that event was to just educate everyone, just kind of, especially the Spanish community. I have like this, I don't know what the word is how I feel, but it makes me feel sometimes, I don't know if it's angry and sad, the fact that Spanish people and people of colors or people that are not from here, they get taken advantage. And that bothers me. So that's why I'm like, no, let me go there. Let me teach them. Let me bring them around people that know what they're doing in that field. So that's kind of like what I did. And people felt that because that's what I wanted to do it for.
And it wasn't just you. I felt that everybody who actually wanted to work with you were on the same page. Mm-hmm. Everybody really wanted to be part of helping and growing the community and educating everybody financially and on the way to become successful in real estate. It was, like I said, it was very inspiring. And tell me a little more about yourself then. You're talking about being a Latina. You are a Dominican, right?
Yes, I am Dominican. I was actually born in the Dominican Republic, and I got here when I was 8 years old. So
8 years old.
8 years old. And at that time, there was no classes for English as a second language. My mom didn't know the language. I didn't know the language. So I go straight into class where I didn't know how to read, write, or even understand the English language.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was a little tough, right? It was very isolating. But what it did teach me was that more than anything, if I wanted to move forward, I have to push through. And I learned how to read on my own. I learned so much of just perseverance and moving forward. And if I wanted to move forward, I had to do it myself. There was no one there to save me. My mom couldn't do it either. I mean, she really wanted to help, but how can she? She came in a country with 2 kids, didn't know the language, and she's just figuring out herself, So I had to do my thing. And it's like, let me figure myself out and let me really try to understand this language.
You're a very strong woman. And, I think I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. It's just the power of every immigrant that come here. It's just pushing through and pushing the boundaries and going over and beyond. And regardless of the options, opportunities that are offered to you, you just know you're going to make it. And that's amazing that you're a woman and you are able to help your community going through that without the struggle you went through, by your assistance. It's just like, that's truly great. So How do you feel about growing up as a Dominican here in New York? How did that shape your ambitions in life?
Well, I want to say Dominicans are known to be a bit of a hustler, right? We're very hustler, but then we have this, in the midst of the struggle, we still have this massive joy. So what it brought to me is like, hey, even though we're struggling, even though we're hustling and we're just pushing through, that we still have joy. There was no complaining. It was like, this is what we have to do. You came to this country of opportunities and you need to look for opportunities. And that's what I was looking for since I was young. How can I get opportunities? How can I, for my mom who worked so hard to get here, it's like, how can I make her proud? And how can I make myself proud as well, was something that kept pushing me. Like in New York is such a fast pace. And to be able to speak English and Spanish and just work confidently into a room, it's really what made me, was like that bilingual made me like a superpower.
I see how. Okay. And so do you think that your success is also due to New York City energy?
I want to say a combination of the New York City energy and also the Dominican, because going back, and I did go to the Dominican Republic sometimes in the summer. And honestly, even though I came here when I was 8 years old, remember, I only knew Spanish. So when I got into junior high school is when I started getting into the New York culture and understanding. And I would say the Dominican was so still in me. But yes, the drive of New York, the movement, the people, and just the opportunity that were in front of me really was what captivated me, of like, I want to push forward. There's opportunities. Me thinking like, oh my gosh, me coming from DR, being in a very poor neighborhood or just living very poor, and just to see that there were friends of mine that were not poor, that owned homes, that lived a different home that I was living. And I'm like, this is what I want. And to see that it could be doable.
Was in New York,
and
right?
this was here in New York. Yeah. That it was doable.
And this is what got you to really want to fight for it. You wanted to get to a level where you felt, I can do anything. And if I see it and I put my mind into it, I'm going to get it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of people know about this philosophy of like manifest what you want, and you are amazing and you can do it. You can make it happen for yourself. But sometimes taking the step is harder. So this is where I think it's your superpower.
Thank you for that. That is true. Yes.
Yes. You know about it, right?
Yes, yes.
I think this is what I told you when I said I didn't know. This is the first time we meet in person. But when I saw you back at the event, this sense of admiration doesn't happen just like that. It's just coming from your amazing energy, igniting the whole room. And like I told you, I looked at people around me and we were talking about bankers, lenders, attorneys, very important people in real estate, sharing their experience and their successes. And they were just all mesmerized by you on the stage. I could see support. I could see that they were grateful about what you were doing. And it's just, I was like, this girl is amazing.
Thank you, Sarah.
So tell me a little more. What got you to want to work in real estate? Was it something in the back of your mind? Or did you just want a house, or did you want to become this entrepreneur in real estate?
So it was a mix of things. So I got into real estate, believe it or not, because my mom had started owning a house. So I got excited. She got into a home, and then she lost that house. She did. She had bought a house, but then the real estate agent kind of scammed her a little bit, I would say. He told her, oh yeah, this house is fine. Don't worry. The tenant that lives on the second floor, they're paying very low rent. They were rent control and rent stabilized. So we're paying, I think it was like $600 at that point.
Wow.
And he was like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. It's okay. Let the tenant's going to move. They're going to move. Then he's like, oh, the commercial space is completely fine. So she bought a house with violations, with a tenant that wasn't paying rent. So she lost this building that right now is probably worth like $3 million. And she lost it for like $250,000. And I realized like, wow, I got into it because I saw how somebody took advantage of my mom, and it bothers me that, again, people are just taking advantage of others in our community. And the guy was also Dominican, he's no longer in business. He no longer does real estate, because I am a firm believer that what you do wrong will always come back to you.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't own property. The guy is not, he's not successful, and it just bothers me. And that's really the reasons why I got into real estate. It was like in the back of my mind at a young age. It was around 15. I was like 15 or 16. So it was there in the back of my mind. I want to do it, but I thought real estate was not going to make me a lot of money. So I went to school. I got my bachelor in business administration, thinking like, you need a degree. Also I came with a New York mindset, right? You need a degree. A degree is going to guarantee income and safety. Yes. And I was an administrator for about how many years of my life? I would say maybe 8 years of my life to get back into real estate again.
Well, once again, like you said, sometimes you got to take another route to come back. And it's true. The uncertainty of being an entrepreneur is scary sometimes. And having a degree kind of is the guarantee that you won't fail. And at the same time, this is maybe not where the money or the success is, or even the self-development, like developing your inner, badass.
Yes, absolutely.
Entrepreneur woman is just like, so I'm glad you ended up coming back to
me
where
too.
You started. What got you? At what moment did you realize, all right, actually I should be back in real estate because this is what I'm made for?
So one of my friends had told me, Maria had told me, hey, you should get into real estate. And I'm like, I don't know. My mom had bad experience. I don't know if I want to do this. But then I'm like, she showed me, we did a rental together. And I'm like, wait, I just rented an apartment and I'm getting, I think it was like $2,000 at that time. And I'm like, and the person's so happy to just give me $2,000 for this apartment. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. So I started doing real estate. I also did, I was an administrator at a company and I was also a Sunday school teacher. So I'm doing all three things at the same time.
I love that you didn't just let go of your
I
job.
did not, yeah.
You combined everything. That was a safe move. Yeah.
That was a safe move. Yeah. But then, God spoke to me. I felt like God was like, you can't continue. You either got to follow me or chase this wind. And I feel like I was just chasing the wind. It was like I was working from 9 to 6 and then real estate till about midnight. And then Sunday school, I was like the whole day, a Sunday was completely for the church. So it was just a lot. And I feel like he was like, you got to follow your passion. And I did. I decided to quit the job with literally, I had maybe $10,000 in my bank account, a deal that I was possibly going to close as a real estate agent for another $10,000. And I was supporting my mom and my 2 brothers. So this is like a $50,000 income that I was getting that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the risk. And I did. And it was the best decision I ever made, taking that risk, listening to God, listening to my gut, and just saying, you know what? Let me go all in. What's the worst that can happen? I get back to another job. I didn't even think what was the worst that can happen, honestly. I just said, you know what? I'm going to trust. I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And I did it. And now I'm sitting there the first day. It was like September 1st. So I'm like here sitting September 1st. And I'm like, God, like you have me here sitting in front of a computer. What am I doing here? Nothing. I'm like, I could have just been still working in that job and doing this. I don't know what happened that month of September. That month, I got 8 listings. That's huge. 8 listings on my first year. I mean, people don't even do that. And they've been doing it for maybe 10, 20 years. First month in real estate, got 8 listings. Out of those 8, 3 of them a church wanted to buy it. So God reminded me like, hey, this wasn't just you. This was also me blessing you. And then from there, my whole life changed.
So there was a lot of love coming from the community, and then you give it back, or you're giving it back right now.
Yes.
So karma works both ways. What goes around comes around, but in a bad way and in a good way as well. So I'm so glad you're getting all the blessings you received and you listen to the calling, because I think that God or the universe or whatever you may believe in talks to us a lot. A lot.
Yes.
And we're just not ready to accept the message sometimes because we are too stuck in whatever we've learned about society. Once again, getting a degree or doing this or doing that. And I think that people who do listen to this inner voice and this spiritual voice get where they're supposed to be. I just want to put that out there because
it's so true. It is so true. I mean, that's how I'm living my life now. So I 100% agree. I think that a lot of the blessings I've gotten so far is more of like being still and being silent. New York has been created, and also an entrepreneur as a woman that's hustling and bustle, hustle.
Yes.
We forgot to like sit still and listen. And the more I sit still and listen, the more things are coming my way, but also there's a combination, still hustle, guys. But the reality is that if you learn how to sit still and listen, things would just be more flowing and things would just come to you in an easier and better way.
And the other thing that I find, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but whenever you listen to this inner voice or outer voice, what happens is that when something bad happens, it becomes a valuable lesson. It's not a way to put you down. You are able to receive everything as a learning process, as something from your learning process. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong or not.
No, I absolutely agree. I do agree with what you're saying, that if you hear the voice and it's telling you to do something and it's a mistake, as we call it, it's never a mistake. It's always a lesson to learn. And I completely agree with that. And I also do believe that sometimes we have to kind of understand where that voice is coming, because sometimes it could be the voice of fear, or it could be the voice of God, right? Or your inner self. So it's really also like seeing the difference between which voice is talking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And also, what is your mindset, right? What are your, is your goal, right? Because sometimes we think, oh my gosh, like it didn't work my way. But what did you learn through that transition, right? Like your learning experience, but also that emotions and those feelings that came through it, and say, you know what? I never want to feel those feelings again. So I will not put myself in that position again.
And there you go, learning experience.
Exactly,
yes.
yeah.
And talking about, so how old were you when you decided to take the shot, by the way? I'm curious. When you took the shot of moving, switching vocation from, it wasn't your vocation, but from your job to your vocation.
I would say I was probably, oh my gosh, maybe 30. Was I 30? Probably like 30. I would say like 29, 30.
29, 30. And would you recommend that to someone at that age, to say, okay, if you're not happy, do something?
Oh my gosh, I would do it earlier. I made a big risk at 28, and it was the best risk I ever took in my life. And I think that at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen, right? Like you fail. And then you're like, all right, I failed, but you did it, right? Like when I did that event, I was so nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if it doesn't go well? What if people don't show up? What's going to happen? And I'm like, you know what? The worst that can happen, nobody shows up, but at least I did it, and I felt good about it. And that's what, going back to the emotions, like what are the feelings that I want to feel? Like right now, I feel that I'm living a life. Before I used to be such into, I want to like get this house, get this, do this fix and flip. I want to be able to do events. I want to do all these things. And thank God I've been always blessed to for it to happen and get those results. But it did get to me in a sad part, believe it or not, just because it was like, oh, I hit this goal, and it didn't give me all these feelings that I thought it was going to give me.
Okay, that's interesting.
Right. So I don't know what was the feeling I was looking for, but it just didn't bring me like those exciting feelings that I thought I was going to get. And what I'm learning now is that I want to focus so much on the feelings of whether it's joy, gratitude, being the best version of myself as I'm going through that journey to hit those goals. Right. So for me, it was like I was constantly hitting goals, and it's just affected me in not a positive way.
Okay.
Then now I'm like, what are the emotions that I want to feel after I hit that goal? Because sometimes we forget we hit the goal and it doesn't do anything for us other than, okay, you get more material things. But there's something more inside than just the material things, right? Like you have this spirit inside of you. You have this hunger to do something more than, I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
It does make sense. And I wanted to ask you, is this how you decided to start this community of helping people?
Well, the reason why I started the community was, it was a combination of, again, like, oh man, I don't like people to be taken advantage of. Then it's like, you know what? Let me try it. I want to do it. I just want to try it and do it. And then the feelings that came through me doing those actions really made me feel really good. I mean, on the first one, I made great money. On another one, I made still money. But it wasn't the money for me at the end. It was just like, oh my gosh, like the people's faces. And the people were like, oh my gosh, I learned so much. There were people like, listen, I paid thousands of dollars to learn what you taught me for free. Like, this is insane. And that is like, I just wanted those feelings.
The biggest thing you can get.
Those feelings are bigger than money. I mean, I like money, guys. I do. But those feelings are great. You know, that's feelings that money cannot buy.
Yes.
And those are the feelings I want to continue to create as I continue to evolve and, you know, be a bigger person and better person than I am now.
Oh, that's beautiful. Tell us about a risk that you took in real estate and how you paid off.
Let's see. Oh, I just told you that one, but let's see what other risks that I take in real estate that paid off. I would say do not take this risk whatsoever. I was blessed, but I would never do this. So what I did, again, I mean, because I did do it. So I had my first investment property. I bought the house in Brentwood in Long Island for about $120,000, right? I got a mortgage on it. The owner had a title issue. So I said, okay, well, we have title issues. The home is empty, homeowner. Let me take your property and let me start fixing the property. So I started fixing the property without the property being under my name. So it took me 3 months. I'm here putting in a new refrigerator, new stove. I mean, I did the entire floors, the ceiling. I painted, I broke walls down, updated the bathroom. I mean, I did everything to this home.
And you had a contract.
And I had a
going on.
contract,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter because we had title issues. And in a contract in New York City, if the owner decides they don't want to sell, they don't have to sell. Yes, I could have put a lien on the property, but still they could have been like, hey, I don't want to sell. So now they have a lien on the property.
Yes.
They could have rented out or do whatever, but that wouldn't help me because I just invested.
Short term.
Yeah, I just invested in this house. Also think about it. What if the house would have caught fire? God forbid. Who's going to get all the money for that? It would have been the homeowner.
It's true.
Because he's the current homeowner. But it did pay off. Out of that first deal, that was my first fix and flip, and I made $120,000 in 3 months.
That's beautiful.
So that was great. But I would say don't do that because I just told you what the worst that could have happened.
Yes.
But that was the biggest risk I ever took in real estate with
absolutely.
an investment.
You really have to consider every possible option. Once again, like you mentioned, if the house ends up, taking fire, then you know that you're not going to see your money anytime soon. And anytime you have a relation with somebody and there is money involved, you should be prepared in every possible way to protect yourself. If now you're not financially able to take on a loss, then you should indeed, have your name on the title first. If now this is something that you can do it. But like you mentioned, it's
very risky.
It's very risky. And so was there a time like this one where at some point real estate kind of scared you and you maybe thought about, am I doing the right thing? Should I stop? Should I change? Was there a moment like that?
There were moments in my career. I wouldn't say that it was scary. It was more of, I had built a team with a lot of women. I built a team with, it was 6 of us. Yeah. And in the team, I poured so much energy and time. I pulled all of myself, I would say. And then the team, broke apart and I just felt like I didn't get that appreciation, that recognition. And it really bothered me. I mean, they're all successful, which I'm super happy for because I know that them working with me, they learned a lot about, hey, discipline, being on time, making calls and doing the activities to be a successful realtor. But it did bother me because I put in all of me to it. That was like one point when I'm like, do I really want to do this? It questioned my leadership and myself as a businesswoman in real estate. So that created a little bit of like, should I stay here or not? There was other times where I had clients that, either took advantage of my time. There was one that we had paperwork signed. The only thing he forgot was to date it. He forgot to put the date on it. I already had got the buyer. We were already ready to close. And he decided that they're going to do the closing without me. And I didn't get paid on that one just because it wasn't dated. So I couldn't take him to court. Even if it was signed and even though we had paperwork on the MLS, even though we had the contract with the attorney signs, just because I didn't have the MLS paperwork with the date, it was a contract that was void at that point. So that had me really
frustrating.
Oh my God. That was like $50,000. And I'm like, are you kidding me? After I did all the work. And then now the attorney's not talking to me. The owner's not talking to me. I'm like, there's something going on here, but nobody's answering me. Then I show up to the attorney's office and they're like the day after the closing. And they were like, we did our closing and you know what? You weren't in contact with us. I'm like, I have tons of information, tons of emails and texts. She was like, yeah, but either way, if you want to do something, do it. I spoke to my broker and they were like, there's nothing you can do because the contract was not dated.
See, I didn't know.
Dates are major.
The impression that you still have a lot of ways to go against what they did, regardless, because of the paper trails. But you would have had to hire a lawyer,
right,
and go through with it.
And then it makes me question: was my brokerage probably didn't want to do the work? I don't know, but what I do know for sure is that I now, when it comes to real estate, and one of the lessons that I've learned is that I definitely need to have documentation on everything. Document conversations, make sure that everything is signed and dated, because dates are really important.
Yes,
because they're saying, hey, this could have been a contract, an MLS contract that was done, years ago.
Yes.
And now you're saying you're putting something in together when you never did.
But it was a lot of paper trail.
Yeah.
So I think you could have had a shot. But if there is a lawyer in the audience, please.
Yes.
Step up and let us know if there was a way or not to make it happen, because this is the kind of thing, like you mentioned, people take advantage of people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of education that needs to be made behind it. And especially when it comes to making sure you are covered to prevent anything that can happen, or at least most of it.
Right.
Because this is just, this is your job. This is what you do.
This is my livelihood. Yeah,
bills.
exactly.
This is very terrible. Well, that's actually something that would have turned me off pretty well. It's great that you kept on going.
Yeah.
And it's, let's say that now the experience you had, and you have a lot of experience. What do you see happening over and over again for investors? And is there a pattern that you can recognize, because you work with them, you are one?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way for them to be better at investing in real estate? Do you have a tip for that? Like an advice?
Let's see. I mean, one of the things that I'm seeing now with real estate, and I'm learning throughout the years, that a lot of people are just jumping into real estate. They're pushing in way too quickly. They're being okay with a $20,000, $40,000 profit or gain. And I think sometimes for the headache, it's not worth it.
Okay.
I would say the biggest thing is just learn as much as you can before you jump into anything. Become the expert at analyzing numbers. I always say, listen, you want to fall in love with the math, not the property. And I think that a lot of investors, their biggest mistake is that they just fall in love with the property and they try to make it work. And it's not about making it work. It's about, does it work or not? You know, and I think that's one tip I would say is like, learn to love the math, have strategies, and more importantly, educate yourself. Yes, it sounds fun. It's like, it's all beautiful. And yes, the money's there and it's great. But there's a way for you to make more money if you just take the time, again, like I was saying, sit still and listen and just kind of like figure out what is it that you really want. A lot of investors are like, hey, I just want to make money. But how do you want to make the money? Right? Do you want to partner up with someone? Do you want to do it on your own? What are the risks that you have to take at the beginning? Maybe it's working for someone for free just so that you can learn it a little bit. Maybe it's paying $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. Maybe it's flying somewhere where you can meet the right people or hear the right things or put yourself in the right rooms. Cause that's what I did a lot. I put myself in the right rooms. I learned about investing in multifamily. I learned about fix and flipping, but I went out and I learned a lot. And I also, seeked out people in the community.
So you would say, and we're not talking just for the Latino community here, we're talking for everybody, right? You would say that it's not because you have $20,000, $40,000 in your bank account that you need to take the shot.
Right.
You need first to educate yourself, understand how real estate works, and like you mentioned, the strategies about it.
Absolutely.
And maybe not jump on the first small flip that you find, but rather maybe wait for something that is more rewarding on the profit side. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's Mia, for me, I think it's very true. I've noticed that a lot of people wanted to fix and flip and they didn't go about it the right way. For example, once again, no experience hiring. And I had this conversation on another podcast, but basically hiring a contractor that didn't do the job. And this person was at a networking event and I said, hey, you know what? Maybe you should have partnered with a contractor because now he has something to earn at the end. You're investing maybe for the materials and everything, but then the actual paycheck comes for him at the end of the flip. So now he's not going to take 9 months. He's going to take 3 months to make it happen and things like that.
I love that tip. That's a great idea. I've done that before. I've done that in the past with contractors that want to get into the business. And I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. The other thing is when you partner with somebody, just make sure you understand also about exit strategy. Because I've noticed a lot of partnerships when the market shifts, which the market does, you end up being stuck with what are we going to do? We can't sell. The other one doesn't want to refinance. The other one doesn't want to rent. And you're like, all right, we're losing money.
Exactly. And also, there was a lady that I just met with last Sunday. She's also a real estate agent. And she told me that she gave money to a gentleman that I also know that she was like, hey, he said, hey, he has a property and she gave him $150,000. This was 3 years ago. and she still hasn't gotten a penny out of that. So I always say that you want to make sure, again, it's like documenting everything. She's not trying to sue him, but the house is under the wife's name. So, it's hard for her to like try to sue this gentleman. But I say, you got to know the person well, like vet that person. Like you're going to marry this person to say, it's like, think about like it's a marriage, and communicating, meeting them multiple times and having everything in writing. It doesn't hurt to just pass it through an attorney, not one, maybe get 2 or 3 attorneys.
Absolutely.
That can see through the paperwork. You might have to spend maybe 100, 200. I don't know how much an attorney charges because I have, multiple attorneys in my pocket. But I say get an attorney or get yourself networking with attorneys that now is like, hey, I might jump in a deal. Can you please read over this? Because New York City will protect you a lot. But it's like my biggest lesson is how can I make sure everything is documented, dated and signed correctly? And how can I protect myself?
Absolutely. And befriend an attorney too, because working with an attorney who doesn't value the work you do and takes you just as a gig, unfortunately, is not going to be helpful to your success. A lot of attorneys also have a lot to learn. I've noticed that. Not two contracts are the same. So make sure you have an attorney who knows what you're doing. And I think that a good way to find a good attorney is by asking him, do you know maybe an architect? Or do you know, anybody that is related to somebody in the city, for example, or anybody who is related to real estate? Now you can see that they already have this networking web around them. And you're like, all right, you are reliable and I can trust you and let's build something. Like you mentioned, maybe having 2 or 3 just in case. Very important. Very important.
You just like one tip that just came to mind as you were speaking for new investors too is your whole job should be, how can I grow my network, right? Because your network is your net worth.
My next question for
man.
That's perfect.
This is how we're working together. We're such in sync right now. I love it. But I would say, network. I mean, going out there, networking, going to networking event is huge. It did change my life too with networking. I got to learn a lot from other people's mistake. And I'm telling you that I am so grateful for that, because just from that girl that I told you, she gave someone $150,000.
Yes.
I'm like, man, you would have talked to me. I'm like, wait, $150,000? You could have bought your own property. She's like, well, I wanted to try it with someone. I'm like, I'm sure that, you could have done so much if she would have had the right network around her. So I would say having whether it's a contractor, whether it's an architect, like you were saying, all these professionals, you need them to be around you so that you can really grow faster. Yes. If you want to succeed in real estate as as an investor.
And the best part is that when you network, once again, you create a new community, because most of those people go to networking events and know each other. There is a reputation involved. Yes. Like I said, you're just not a gig anymore. Now you're somebody that they met physically, probably had a drink together, talked about family expectations, and you were able to bond a little more. And I think that this is really what makes the difference between somebody who wants to take a shot and somebody who's aiming for the long term. It's all about the people you're surrounding yourself with. And so what would you say for women who are starting or want to expand, and it's a male-dominated world, but how can we help each other through networking?
One of the things I would say, it's probably, we have as women, we've been conditioned to compete with one another. And I'm like, if we can learn how to collaborate, I think will be something great. And I think that we also have that fear of like, am I enough? Is this person going to leave after I put in this time and energy? So I think it goes back to that trust and building like that relationship and that belief that, hey, we're women and we want to help each other grow. Like, I'm not here competing with you. I want you to shine, because when you shine, I shine, and we can do this together. So I think that the way that could be done is just by having like those open, honest conversations and saying, hey, what are you bringing? What can I bring? And how can we collaborate? How can, the thing is, if both individuals have the same mindset of like, here's the vision, everything else will just flow. And it's kind of like being reminded to like the why. Why are we doing this project? What are the feelings we're going to have as we finish this project? I would say, hopefully that answers your question.
Yes,
I'm
actually just thinking about now that you mentioned also that, the Latino community is maybe taking advantage of a little more. Do you think that there is also more competition, for example, between Latina women due to the culture, for example?
I believe that 100%. I mean, it's been ancestral, and, the Spanish community, unfortunately, and thank God that's something that's being broken, that women were okay with men having, multiple women, and now I'm so grateful that some women are like, hey, we're not allowing that. And so think about that. If you were raised in a culture where the man is able to have multiple women, what are you thinking? Oh my God, I got to compete with another woman. Not only do I have to compete with a woman, she might take my money. She's now might take my husband and the food out of my table. So I think that's where the breakage needs to start happening, where a woman is like, hey, I'm supporting you. And we're not just here thinking that something's going to be taken from us.
Do you think there is a sense of independence that needs to be created for a woman? Saying, for example, okay, women, we nurture a lot, right? We love to be the one in the family, and we are going to save money together with, for example, a husband. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to invest as a family. I'm going to say, would it make sense for a woman? And this is a question that just comes in my mind right now. But would it make sense for a woman that put money aside on a separate bank account mm-hmm. and invest in her own dream and separate from the family to make something happen between women? I don't know. It's just a thought.
I never thought of that. I think that's a great idea. I do like the idea of like, hey, this is just like my play money for save mm-hmm. for as an investment that, hey, if I make zero money out of this, at least I got an experience out of it. I think that's a great idea. I also think that as women, if we can take the time also to learn a skill, I think that learning that skill will always make you money, you know, because money always comes. Like there's an abundance of it. But I feel like if we can learn specific skills, we're with someone just because we actually want to be with someone, not because we're getting something out of it. I think mm-hmm. we've created a world where there's a lot of transaction. So as a woman, their mindset too is like transactional. So it's like you already have this nurturing. So if you can nurture that person, I think women are phenomenal at growing business because they already have that nurturing part of themselves. And I think, which is crazy, why the men are so much successful is because these men, they don't compete with each other. They're like, hey, how can we collaborate, guys? How can we make money together? But when it comes to women, it's like, oh no, I don't want to share no ideas. No, I don't want to put my money with you. Like even if that girl, I mean, I knew her, we're close. And she's like, oh man, if I knew you were this like smart and knew about this, I would have just worked with you instead. But even women are like, hey, I'd rather work with a man. That needs to stop. It's like, how can we collaborate with one another? And like, that's why I think right now, and I'm just like, I just learned this like a couple of days ago about like the emotions and the feelings. Like how beautiful would it be two women growing together and like, hey, we did this together. And hey, if it worked, oh my God, how great is this? Now we're showing other women what's possibility. Because now if you see a lot of women, it's like they're either by themselves or it's another man. It's never another woman and another woman. Yes. And I think if we can be that, like that start, I think it would just give people the possibility of what could be done.
I believe in everything you just said. I wanted a confirmation from you because sometimes I pick on certain things and I'm all about elevating, and uplifting women. And what I've noticed is that when we start a family, when we get married, for example, or we are just with, somebody, we will probably more be the one staying at home mm-hmm. and keeping the job. And then the man will be the one investing and taking the risk and learning, for example. That's why I actually found online, and I'm going to put the link down below, but there is financial literacy education for free online for a woman. And I think that if we that's great, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And I think, so there is a need for it. And I think that people noticed, by the way, also women, they have a 33% less saved income for retirements than men because of that. The lack of education when it comes to finances, and also the lack of maybe just taking the risk of taking opportunities, like I mentioned, mm-hmm. and like you confirmed right now, and working together and learning, and it's going to benefit the family anyways. Right. But we're just not taking that shot. So I'm glad we talked about it.
Same here. And I agree 100% with everything that you're saying. I think that think about two powerful people, the husband and the wife that are both, hey, even though we're together, hey, we're still our separate parts. I mean, what can we do separately and then bring back to the table together? I think that will create a dynamic relationship. But again, we're like living in a culture where it's, that we're seeing that it's not supposed to be that way, where it's like, hey, you just stay home. You're just supposed to look pretty. And yes, ladies, we could still look pretty, but we can also be very smart and know our numbers, know how can we bring more to the table than just our looks. That's where I'm at. Like, how can we bring more to the table than just the looks? How can we empower other women and could create a sisterhood? Because back in the days, like in our ancestors, right, there was a lot of community, right? When somebody had a kid, the husband used to go, but the women were all together, and that was a powerful community when that was created. And if we can build that, I know we all live busy lives, but if a community can be created, I think that would be amazing.
I completely agree with what you just said. It takes a village, and we used to have a village, and I think we can recreate the village in a entrepreneurial context as well. So, this is what we do with the podcast right now as well. Finger crossed, we've come from not being able to vote to now, actually, it's said that we are going to own within 10 to 20 years, 50% of the global wealth.
Wow.
Yes. So this is what is going to happen for us. This is the future. It's very bright for women. We are the pioneer for something greater later. And I'm so glad that we got to talk about it and share that with the audience. There is also another thing about you here is that you've done already a lot. So first of all, you were successful in real estate. You're a successful agent, investor. You mentor and organize events, and you want to open your own brokerage.
I do. That is the next step. I definitely want to open up my next brokerage. Well, not my first brokerage. And, my goal with the brokerage is to really create a community, right, of minority. Would love to focus a lot on women. And the whole purpose of the brokerage is, yes, I want to teach you how to be a great sales agent, but I want to teach you how to build wealth, how to be financially free. And also I want to be able to guide, lead, and direct, these realtors and also the homeowners and the sellers and the buyers that are looking to get into real estate, because there's not a lot of guidance right now. There's not a lot of education. People are just going with the flow. I had a gentleman today call me. He saw a YouTube video that I created, and he's asking me like, hey, I'm about to get into this house. This realtor's pushing me to buy it. Like, what should I do? So I asked him a couple of questions, and I'm like, they're telling you that the tenant is possibly going to move, but it's not in the contract. I wouldn't believe that. And you're saying, oh, well, they'll pay $2,000. I'm like, no, they're paying $1,400 right now. That's where they're going to pay. So I want to be able to create that. It's like, how can I continue to guide people and direct them the right way? And that's why I want to open up the brokerage more than anything.
So would you say that this is what's going to make you stand out, offering support to your clients and your team?
Correct. Both to the client and also my team, is to not only provide you with the support, but it's really teaching you the financial literacy, right? That we have been talking throughout this entire podcast, what changed my life. I'm so grateful that I'm financially free, but there were risks that I took that I probably should have taken differently. And if I would have had myself when I first started, when I told you 29, 30, if I would have had someone at that age or even 28, I think that my whole life would have been so different.
Having a mentor,
having someone that knew what they were doing and weren't afraid to share. And you know me, I love sharing. I love to see other people succeed and make a lot of money.
It's the key of growing together and growing, better. It's actually sharing information openly. Mm-hmm. A lot of brokerage, unfortunately, hire agents don't train them. They go out there and they're like, all right, go fend for yourself.
Right.
The problem is that we're talking about real buyers and real sellers, and the financial literacy, but also, educating people about real estate in a deeper way. It's just about making sure that the service is provided the right way. And brokerages are not doing that right now. And this is, I think, also why we see a lack of trust.
Absolutely.
In real estate agents. And that brings me to my next question. Do you have an idea or a way to break this image of car salesperson and allow people to regain trust in their agents again?
I think that one of the ways for that to start working is by being authentic. Right. And it's also about not only being authentic, but learning. How can you learn so much that you're able to educate your client in a way where the client feels like, wow, this person has their best interest in mind for me. I mean, that's the only way. It's not only about, hey, how can I make money? It's about how can I educate someone? I mean, these people are buying their dream. Like this is, people's life investment. We're talking about people having to come out with 100,000, 200,000, or even 50, 60,000 with a salary of maybe 50,000 or less and having 3 kids, right? That they have to maintain and a family. So it's something that I don't take lightly. This is a big deal. And sometimes realtors take it like, oh, it's just money. Like it doesn't matter. And it's like, it does matter. Let's create something where you're building a trust by being integral and treating each person like how would you want to be treated? Because I think if you have that mindset, like, oh, I want to make sure that homeowner, that buyer, that seller is being treated like if it was my mom or my dad or myself. And I think that's the only way that this could be broken is by being genuine and just being authentic.
Well, that I think is going to make people want to work with you a lot because it's a real need. And like you mentioned, it's such a major move. Having people with such a warm, big and authentic heart, like you mentioned, still believing that this is not just a job. It's incredible. Shout out to you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Really.
I mean, I do mean it. I mean, I do honestly care a lot about people. I mean, my mom, lost her home. Right now, it's a $3 million home now. And it really broke her in a way that I saw that and I saw how it affected all of us. And I don't want somebody to go through that. Yeah. So because I went through that of what it is working with a bad agent. I don't want no one to work with a bad agent. Absolutely. That's why if somebody calls me, hey, I'm already with another realtor, but I have a question for you. I'm like, absolutely, I would help you.
Sign of trust. Yeah. It's amazing that you're getting those calls. I was going to tell you that just the fact that somebody is working already with an agent, but still calls you. And by the way, the fact that you're posting those videos and it's accessible to whoever has a question online, that's amazing as well. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to write her link description down below and her information. By the way, if you need information about real estate or you want to educate yourself, you've heard of Rosa, she's here. You're going to be able to please go down there and just click and follow her.
I have a lot of videos on YouTube going over, buying, selling, a lot of information that, will open your eyes and then really question, hey, do I have the right realtor? Am I making the right investment right now? Am I just being emotional? Because real estate is very emotional as well. So it's like, hey, am I being emotional? Yes. Or am I being strategic here? So it's really, again, I always say, yes, we can always fall in love with the property. And it depends. If you're an investor, I would say more really fall in love with the math, not with the property. Mm-hmm. That's like major key when it comes to real estate. Because when you fall in love with the math, you start thinking about different strategies, right? Am I going to rent it? Am I going to refinance it? Can I just fix and flip it? Is it something I should just hold for the long term because there's going to be a possibility here? Hey, is there a tax benefit for me holding this property? So it's really about the math.
And also, if it's an emotional purchase, just be ready to put in the price then. Don't compromise if you know that it is important for you to be in this school district and have this quality of life and, being sometimes we cannot get any way around it. I think this is managing expectations also was people and buyers, and same for sellers. Just make sure you're understanding that you're selling to people who have a certain budget. Like we would like all to sell our house for $15 million.
Exactly. I would love to do that. I mean, even with the guy I was talking to today, I was telling him like, listen, and now I'm confused. I was like, today, yesterday, but the guy I was talking to, I told him, listen, he's buying something in the Bronx. I said, how long have you been looking for? He's like, I've been looking for 2 years. He said, but it looks really pretty. I really like it. I'm like, it's pretty. You like it. The price is not too bad. The house looks nice. He's like, if you could afford it and you feel that you could do this, go ahead and do it. He's like, I'm not going to take vacation. I'm like, I get it, but there's sacrifice for everything. If you can really deal with that monthly payment, then I would say go ahead and do it.
2 years. The properties he was looking at 2 years ago are probably already.
They're gone now.
Already, but the value increased already.
He was telling me that the value were still around the same range. That's why I was like, listen, this house just came 9 days ago. You like it, has everything you like. I would say take it. Let me recommend you an attorney to make sure that you are protected. Because if they're telling you this person can get out, then let's make sure that they can. And the attorney can protect you. So I recommended him an attorney to make sure that that's put in the contract, like that those tenants will leave. Because he's in love with the property. I'm like, if you're in love, it makes sense and we can get that person out, then do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's also something I would like to do is being able to create a community where we have an attorney who knows the community of women.
Hmm.
We are all here investing, being an entrepreneur and supporting each other, and they will advise us the best possible way. Because I think that I mean, this was one of your clients, but for women in general, sometimes not being able to ask the right questions, not
Right.
knowing what to say, not knowing who to call because you go on Google and it's always the same name, by the way, the same names that
Yeah,
pop up because you can pay to be on top of the page.
exactly.
Very often you don't know if they are the best, if they're there just because of marketing, and SEOs and things like that. So yeah, being just recommending somebody to this stranger is an amazing move.
Hmm.
Honestly, on his behalf, thank you for that, because we don't know what professional to call sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. It takes a lot of due diligence and years of partnership before to know, okay, this guy, I can recommend him.
Right.
One of the questions I had also, so you have your events. How are you going to manage your brokerage and the events at the same time?
That's a great question. Because I'm starting it now. So the whole idea is that the brokerage is up and running towards the end of this month of April. And my goal is to start doing the events again, most likely towards like September, October. And I am actually partnering up with a woman. Her and I are working together, where she is going to help me a little bit with events. I am looking for partners to help me also do more of the events, and because it does take a lot.
Yes.
When I did it by myself, it was 3 months of like putting in the work, doing the videos, contacting vendors. It's a lot of work and it is very rewarding. But my goodness, it took a lot of work, just 3 months to get into stage. It's a lot. And, getting everything together, it's a lot. So I want to do more of it. It's just, there's only one of me and it's only so very limited time. So I am looking for someone just in case.
To partner with.
Yeah.
Okay. So
to
the
help with the
message is
events.
out there.
Yes.
All right. If somebody wants to apply, there you go. And what is the legacy for you with all the work you're doing right now? And I know that legacy is a very popular word right now, but what is the mission and the vision of everything you're doing right now? And by the way, also you said that each time you're hitting a goal, sometimes you weren't sure how to feel. So now that you're able to process that feeling, what it is for you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, you got me at the end when you were like the feelings. I will say two parts on that. I mean, for me, what I really want to leave with, like that, my vision and what I'm leading with is let's say someone that probably thinks like it can be done. I want to be that person that's like, oh my gosh, she did it. I can also do it. So that's kind of like the vision of like, if I did it, someone else can do it. And then the emotions that I want to feel as I'm creating this is like, man, I'm proud of myself. Now that other people are proud of me or validate me, it's more of like, I am so proud of myself because I did what I said I was going to do. I have this integrity and I have just like this woman that's so disciplined that became the best version of herself, not only in business, but in other parts of her life, right? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that's kind of like what I want to leave with, like that emotion of like, I did it. I'm proud of myself. And I became somebody bigger and better. And I feel like just proud, successful.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you want to stay in New York City, or do you maybe plan on expanding?
So that's what also I want to do with the brokerage, is kind of a combination of like New York and the Dominican Republic, where we're doing more of the,
Awesome.
I want to do development there. That's kind of the idea. I'm not sure if you heard in the news, but there was a club in the Dominican Republic where they didn't have the right structure, right? The right build. So they put all the equipment and the ACs on top of the roof, which didn't have a beam, there was no support. It dropped and killed 111 people.
I wasn't aware when that happened.
This just happened on Monday. And it's like so devastating because it was like one of an amazing singer that we all know in our culture was killed along with 111 people. And it's like a day where you're just having fun. You're not thinking that the roof is going to collapse on you. So that's the reason why I would love to go back to my country and be part of like creating something. But that just was like a shock. It broke my country. It's 111 people in one night. And it was, people that are very well known got hurt and got killed just because there's no way to manage construction there. It's like you could do whatever you want. So people are just buying properties and not knowing, hey, is this built right? Is this has the right support, the right beam? So that's what I want to do with the brokerage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very honorable mission that you have right there. I understand also the urgency of bringing a little more knowledge in countries that are maybe now don't have maybe the
Right.
same resources. That's beautiful. I'm really hoping you'll get there, and I know you'll get there though. Because,
Thank you. That is the idea. I do have land there that I want to start building. So that's kind of the goal down the line, maybe in 5 years from now. We'll see. But yeah, I definitely want to go back and see how I can, make a change there as well.
And well, we are getting to the end of the
Yes.
podcast, and I want to ask you one more question. I want to ask you, and I know you mentioned mentorship, but if you had to go back to being 20 years old again, and this is for any young woman who wonders sometimes in life, what is it, what's out there for her? What is the one advice beside mentorship that you will give her?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many things that come into my mind. I mean, and to choose one only would be to, I think, trust your path, trust yourself more. Trust that you're going in the right path would probably be the other thing. It's trusting yourself, trusting that gut. Because sometimes as women, we forget to trust ourselves, right? Whether you're 20, 30, 40, I think if you can learn how to trust yourself more, trust that gut, I think that will make you much bigger and better than you could possibly be. I mean, that's how I took the risk of real estate. That's how I took the risk of doing the networking events. It all came from just trusting that I'm going in the right direction.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming today. It's an honor having you here. Guys, once again, if you want to have more information or contact Rosa, everything is going to be written in the description. And it was lovely having you. Really,
It was a
truly.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I really had a great time.